Sports have been a worldwide staple for centuries. Every day, there's always some sort of sporting event going on, whether it be basketball, soccer, football, baseball, hockey, volleyball, golf, whatever you name it. And everyone always has the team they root for to the bitter end. And people always cheer for their favorite players to succeed and they weep when they fail. But what if messing up meant certain death or serious injury? And this is the case with extreme sports. I mean, if you could even call them that. With normal sports, two teams compete against each other, certain number of guys versus another number of guys. But with extreme sports, the opponent seems to just be nature, or, nature always working against you. Participating in extreme sports requires extreme discipline and skill because one small mistake could result in death. So, what is it that has people flocking back to these sports? Some may say that these sports provide an escape to an overall boring life. Some may like the idea of how close they came to death, believing they cheated it. Others may believe psychological defects may also play a part in drawing people in. So, what is it and why is it that the closer we get to death, the more alive we feel? With the recent rise in popularity for extreme sports, more and more people are asking what is it that is bringing people in and keeping them coming back? Some may point to psychological damage or markers in the brain as being a cause. The article, Psychiatric Aspects of Extreme Sports, with 3 case studies by Permj, states that there's a clear link between risk taking and the adrenaline, dopamine, endorphin surge experienced by extreme sports participants. This surge is like the phenomenon seen in gambling and risk heavy professions such as financial trading, which continually entice participants back to their chosen edge work. In other words, Perm speaks about how, for some people, a surge in dopamine levels is what brings people back to extreme sports. And this is significant because addiction is a known side effect of high dopamine levels. This may lead people to growing an addiction to the sport, making them believe they cannot live properly without it. The article also states that for participants with severe hyperactive impulsive attention deficit hyperactivity disorder or ADHD, extreme sports can be fairly calming and can even provide therapeutic neuromodulation with positive reinforcement potential elicited by dopamine, serotonin, epinephrine, endorphins, and stress hormone hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis activation, which produces a state of optimal arousal. In other words, extreme sports can sometimes offer temporary remedy for people with ADHD and other psychological disorders. This is significant because extreme sports can provide a natural temporary remedy to a disorder that normal life would have difficulty replicating. For those suffering with disorders such as ADHD, actively engaging in extreme sports isn't purely recreational, but can provide an escape from the struggles their disorders posed on them. Overall, I mean, the dopamine levels released into the brain caused by extreme sports can serve as a remedy to an incurable disease and render anybody addicted to the sport, perhaps giving them the notion that they cannot live without it. If doing these sports can have this type of effect on the brain, no wonder extreme sports have people coming back. While most reasons for getting into extreme sports seem to be psychological and spiritual, some may point to some physical reasons as to why people are getting into these sports. The article Impact of Extreme Sports on the Individual Society, a short introduction by O. Rusu and D. Rusu, states that the rising popularity in these sports may be due to the reduction of working hours and increase in leisure and financial budgets, the evolution of technology from creating equipment and devices necessary to practice to intelligent clothing monitoring several physiological parameters, an increase in the number of highly qualified persons, the emergence of computer science civilization. Um, and in other words, I mean, psychological effects may not be the only reason as to why people are getting into these sports, but rather they now have the time and knowledge to do it. It is significant because it points to a physical reason as to why people do these sports. The same article also states that recent studies have focused on the benefits on physical performance, mental health, and personality traits, on emotion management, courage, humility, fear, physical emotion, and mental freedom, psychological recovery, and emotional well being. In other words, these sports can provide physical benefits. This is significant because, on top of making one feel better, extreme sports can also help both physically and mentally, providing another reason for people to get into the extreme sports. If extreme sports can help strengthen the mind by reinforcing it from strain and helping with recovery times, on top of releasing chemicals linked with happiness, Then extreme sports may be another case of high risk, high reward. When people see someone jump out of a plane or climb up a 3,000-foot cliff, they call them madmen. Yet every year, more and more people are doing these crazy things. So are these people really crazy for coming so close to death, or is there some logic behind these death-defying stunts? What is it that brings people coming back to flirt with death again and again? While some of it can be attributed to more free time and better access to equipment, the main factor comes down to psychological and often spiritual effects. The release of dopamine while doing these sports is enough to get one addicted to it. And for those with psychological disorders such as ADHD, it can serve as a temporary remedy.